You have $100, not 100,000. Not a windfall from a relative you barely knew, not a bonus you negotiated for 6 months, not a tax refund that feels like found money because you already forgot the government had it. $100. The amount that disappears from your account between the 1st and the 15th of every month without leaving behind any evidence of where it went. The amount that gets absorbed by a dinner you cannot recall, a subscription you signed up for during a free trial and never canceled, and a handful of small purchases that each felt like nothing and collectively felt like $100 of nothing. I want to talk about what happens when that $100 stops disappearing and starts going somewhere on purpose, not somewhere exciting, not somewhere that produces a story worth telling at dinner, somewhere boring, somewhere that sits quietly and does math while you sleep, somewhere that nearly nobody will ever send money because the early results are so underwhelming that the entire act feels pointless. It is not pointless. It just looks that way for longer than anyone is comfortable admitting. My name is Ivan, and today I am going to walk you through exactly what changes when $100 leaves your checking account on the 1st of every month and lands in a place where it compounds. Not because $100 a month builds dramatic wealth quickly. It does not. The math in the early years is unimpressive, and that early phase of underwhelming returns is exactly why the majority of people who start this process eventually stop. But because the first intentional $100 invested consistently does something to the rest of your financial life that has almost nothing to do with the $100 itself, it changes the category you operate in. It changes the questions you start asking. It changes what you notice on your bank statements, what you tolerate from your spending, and what becomes possible in ways that a one-time $500 investment made once and forgotten simply cannot replicate. The $100 is not the point. What the $100 starts is the point. Let me introduce you to two people, Rich Richard and Poor Peter. Both earn $65,000 a year. Both live in the same city, drive similar cars, eat at the same kinds of restaurants. They went to similar schools. They carry similar amounts of student debt. They have similar tastes and similar social circles and similar Friday night routines. From the outside, their lives look nearly identical. If you passed them on the street, you could not point to the one who will retire comfortably and the one who will work until his body makes the decision for him. The difference between them is invisible, and it starts on a Tuesday evening in January. Rich Richard opens a Fidelity account after dinner. It takes him about 20 minutes. He links his checking account, sets up an automatic transfer of $100 on the 1st of every month, selects a total market index fund, and confirms the purchase. Then he closes the app and goes to bed. The next morning, his life looks identical to the morning before. The coffee tastes the same. The commute is the same length. The account has $100 in it, and the market moved slightly in one direction or another, and nothing feels different. Poor Peter also thought about opening an account that same Tuesday evening. He even had the Fidelity app downloaded on his phone. But he told himself he would start next month, once things calmed down at work and he had a better handle on his budget. Next month became the month after that. Then it became next quarter. Then it became next year. Poor Peter is not irresponsible. He is not bad with money in any dramatic way. He just keeps waiting for the right moment, and the right moment keeps not arriving. That Tuesday evening is where the divergence begins. And the divergence is not about $100. It is about a category transfer. Before that evening, Rich Richard was someone who intended to invest someday. After that evening, he became someone who invests. Those are not the same person. They make different decisions. They notice different things. They arrive at fundamentally different places 20 years from now. Not because of the $100, but because of the identity shift the $100 set in motion. The behavioral research on this is remarkably consistent. The single most reliable predictor of continued investment behavior is having started. Not the amount, not the return in the first year, not the market conditions at the time of the first purchase. Whether the account exists and has money in it. Rich Richard just crossed that threshold. Everything that follows is easier than what he just did. Month 6, the first test. The market drops 8% in 3 weeks. Rich Richard's $600 in contributions is now showing a balance of approximately $563. He has lost $37 on paper, and his nervous system, which evolved in an environment where loss meant physical danger, registers this with a response that is wildly disproportionate to the actual magnitude of the event. This is the first test, not of his financial sophistication, of his ability to do nothing when doing nothing feels wrong. Rich Richard looks at the $563 balance, reminds himself that he does not need this money for 30 years, and closes the app without changing anything. He does not sell. He does not switch to a money market fund. He does not call anyone for advice. He sits with the discomfort of a red number on a screen and does the single hardest thing in investing, which is nothing. Poor Peter, who still has not opened an account, sees the same headlines about the market dropping and tells himself he was smart to wait. He feels validated. He tells a friend at lunch that he almost started investing last month, and look what happened. The market tanked. He says he will start investing once things stabilize. Stability, in the context of financial markets, is a concept that exists in theory and almost never in real time. The market does not send a notification that says the turbulence is over. You may now invest safely. It recovers while people are still arguing about whether the bottom has been reached. JP Morgan found that missing just the 10 best trading days in the S&P 500 over a 20-year period cut annualized returns nearly in half, from roughly 10% down to about 6%. And here is the part that matters. 7 of those 10 best days happened within 2 weeks of the worst days. The people sitting in cash waiting for stability missed the recovery that began while the news still looked terrible. Rich Richard's automated transfer bought shares at a discount during the drop. He did not plan it that way. The automation did it for him. That is one of the quiet advantages of doing nothing. Year 1, $1,200 invested. 12 months of $100 automatic transfers. $1,200 contributed. At a 7% average annual return, Rich Richard's balance is approximately $1,239. He made $39 beyond his contributions. $39. The cost of a mediocre takeout order. The return on an entire year of disciplined monthly investing. From the outside, this looks like an argument against starting small. $39 for a whole year of effort. From the inside, Rich Richard has started noticing things he never noticed before. The expense ratio on the fund in his 401k at work is 1.2% when a comparable option charges 0.03%. He did not know what an expense ratio was 6 months ago. Now he does, because he has an account with an expense ratio, and that account made the concept real in a way that reading about it never could. He also started noticing the way his coworkers talk about money. The guy in accounting who leased a car he cannot really afford and talks about it like it is an investment. The woman in marketing who puts her entire bonus on a vacation and posts it online as self-care. These are not bad people. They are people without a framework for evaluating how money moves through their lives. Rich Richard has a framework now. It is tiny. It is $100 a month, but it is enough to create a lens that everything else passes through. Poor Peter's 401k has the same expensive fund. He does not know it is expensive because he has no reference point. The difference in expense ratios over 30 years on even modest balances compounds into tens of thousands of dollars. Rich Richard will catch it. Poor Peter will not. Not because Rich Richard is smarter. Because Rich Richard has a context that makes the information relevant. Year 3, approximately $3,993. 36 months in, $3,600 contributed. The gains are $393. Still not exciting. Still not the kind of number that makes anyone reconsider their lifestyle. But something has shifted that does not show up in the balance. Rich Richard noticed his credit card was carrying a balance of $2,000 at 19.9% interest. Before the brokerage account, that number was just a number on a statement. After the brokerage account, he could do the math. His investments were earning roughly 7%. His credit card debt was costing roughly 20%. Every dollar sitting on that credit card was effectively erasing $3 of investment progress. He paid it off in 4 months by redirecting discretionary spending. Poor Peter still carries the same credit card balance. it has actually grown to $2,800. He makes the minimum payment. The interest compounds against him every month with the same mathematical inevitability that Rich Richard's index fund compounds for him. The $100 investment did not teach Rich Richard about credit card interest. It created a framework where credit card interest became visible as a cost, and cost became something he tracked because he now tracked returns. Year 5, approximately $7,159, 60 months of $100 contributions, $6,000 invested. The balance at 7% average annual return is approximately $7,159. Rich Richard has made $1,159 beyond his contributions. The return is now over 19% of his total balance, and his monthly return from the market is approximately $42. His money is generating $42 a month just existing. Almost half of his monthly contribution produced without any effort. But year 5 is where something dangerous happens. Rich Richard's income is higher than it was at year 1. He got a raise in year 2 and another one in year 4. The $100 automatic transfer that felt significant when he set it up now feels routine, almost too small to matter. And this is where lifestyle inflation enters the picture with its arm around your shoulder like an old friend. Lifestyle inflation does not announce itself. Nobody wakes up and decides to inflate their lifestyle. It happens gradually. The apartment upgrade that adds $300 a month to rent. The restaurant habit that shifted from once a week to 3 times a week without anyone tracking the transition. The new car payment that replaced the paid-off car that was running fine. Each decision is individually reasonable. Collectively, they consume every raise, every bonus, every bit of income growth that could have gone toward accelerating the investment. The voice that says Rich Richard deserves to enjoy his money, that he has been disciplined enough, that 1 year of pausing the transfer will not make a difference. That voice is loudest precisely at the moment when continuity matters the absolute most. The math on pausing is unforgiving. If Rich Richard pauses contributions for 3 years, from year 5 to year 8, and then resumes, the cost, by year 30, is not the $3,600 he skipped. It is approximately $18,500, because those missed contributions would have compounded for the remaining 22 to 25 years of the investment horizon. The pause that felt minor was an $18,000 decision made in a moment of comfort. Rich Richard does not pause. He actually increases his contribution to $150. Poor Peter, 5 years into intending to start, has now missed 5 years of compounding. The gap between them is no longer just behavioral. It is mathematical, and it is accelerating. Every month that passes adds another layer to the divergence, because Rich Richard's existing balance is growing on top of new contributions, while poor Peter's zero balance is growing on top of zero. The gap does not close with time. It widens. And this is the part that the personal finance industry gets wrong so consistently that it almost seems deliberate. They frame investing as a knowledge problem, as if the reason people do not invest is because they do not understand how it works. Rich Richard did not start because he finally understood compound interest. He started because he opened an app on a Tuesday evening and pressed a button. The knowledge came after. The understanding came from watching real money in a real account do real things over real months. The education followed the action, not the other way around. Every month he learned something new, not from a textbook, but from having skin in the game. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. I put out a new video every week breaking down the psychology behind building real wealth. Now, let me walk you through what happens when the math starts to really turn. Year 10, approximately $17,308, a decade of $100 a month, $12,000 contributed. Balance at 7% average annual return, approximately $17,308. The market has generated $5,308 beyond Rich Richard's contributions. Compounding is no longer a concept he believes in theoretically. He can see it in his account, and the crossover is close. By year 11, Rich Richard's annual return from the market will exceed his annual contribution of $1,200 for the first time. After that point, he could stop contributing entirely, and the account would still grow every year by more than he was putting in. The money starts working harder than he does. He will not stop, of course. By year 10, the behavior is no longer a discipline. It is a default. The $100 leaves on the first of the month the way the rent leaves. Automatically, without decision, without consideration of whether this is the right month for it. The identity shift that happened on that Tuesday evening 10 years ago is now so embedded that stopping would feel like the anomaly. Something else has happened by year 10 that is harder to quantify. Rich Richard has 10 years of evidence that he can make a commitment and honor it across market corrections, career changes, 2 apartment moves, a period where his car needed a new transmission, and every other financial disruption that typically erodes financial commitments. That evidence is worth more than the $17,000 balance in terms of what it predicts about the next 20 years. There is a confidence that comes from a decade of consistency that cannot be purchased or shortcut. Rich Richard does not worry about money the way he used to, not because he has enough money to stop worrying. $17,000 is not life-changing wealth, but because he has proof that he can build something, and that proof changes the texture of every financial decision he makes. He negotiates harder on salary because he understands what each additional dollar can become over time. He avoids unnecessary debt because he can feel the opportunity cost. He sleeps slightly better, not because of the balance, but because of the trajectory. Poor Peter started investing at year 7. He finally opened the account, set up automatic transfers, and began putting in $100 a month. He is 3 years into his journey now, with approximately $3,993. He's doing the right thing. But the 7-year head start Rich Richard has is a gap that $300 a month from poor Peter would barely close. Year 15, approximately $31,696. $18,000 contributed. Balance approximately $31,696. The market has now generated $13,696 beyond Rich Richard's contributions. The compounding gains have nearly matched his total lifetime contributions, and the monthly return from the market is growing every month. Rich Richard increased his contribution to $200 a month 3 years ago. His actual balance is significantly higher than these projections, which assume a flat $100. But even at the base level, his investment is doing something most personal finance content does not emphasize enough. It is changing the ceiling of what he considers possible. At year 1, retirement felt abstract. At year 5, it felt far away but real. At year 15, Rich Richard can open a retirement calculator, plug in his numbers, and see a trajectory that lands somewhere he actually wants to be. Not because the $100 a month solved retirement on its own, but because it was the entry point that led to the 401k optimization, the credit card payoff, the expense ratio reduction, the salary negotiation he would not have pursued if he did not have a financial framework that valued future dollars. The $100 was not the engine, it was the ignition. Year 20, approximately $52,093, 2 decades. $24,000 contributed. Balance up approximately $52,093. The market generated $28,093 more than Rich Richard's total contributions. His money has made more money than he put in. The thing he started with $100 on a Tuesday evening 20 years ago is now a self-sustaining system that grows every year by more than he contributes annually. The math has fully turned. Rich Richard is no longer the engine of his account's growth. He is the steward. And the monthly return from the market on this balance is approximately $304. 3 times his original monthly contribution, generated automatically without any action on his part. While he sleeps, while he commutes, while he eats dinner with his family, the account is producing more than $300 a month in growth. The money is making money, and the money makes is also making money. This is the moment where the phrase compound interest stops being a concept and becomes something Rich Richard can feel in his daily financial decisions. He does not need the account for anything right now, but knowing it is there, knowing it is growing at $300 a month on its own, changes how he processes every financial question. Should he take on a car payment? Should he carry a credit card balance for a month? Should he skip a contribution because the holidays are expensive? Every question gets filtered through the awareness that his money is working, and anything that interrupts it has a cost that compounds forward. Poor Peter, who started 13 years ago, has approximately $24,000. He is making progress. But the $24,000 balance at year 13 is where Rich Richard was at roughly year 12. There is no catching up without significantly increasing the contribution, because compounding rewards duration above almost everything else. Year 30, the number that reframes everything. 3 decades, $36,000 contributed. $100 every month without interruption. Balance at 7% average annual return, approximately $122,000. The market generated approximately $86,000. Rich Richard generated $36,000. For every dollar he put in, the market put in roughly $2.39. His total return on contributions is approximately 239%. From $100 a month, from one decision on a Tuesday evening that took 20 minutes. Now extend it. $200 a month for 30 years at 7%, approximately $244,000. $300 a month, approximately $366,000. $500 a month, approximately $610,000. The variable that matters the most in all of these projections is not the monthly amount, it is the 30 years. Compounding needs time the way a fire needs oxygen. It does not work without it, and more of it produces results that scale faster than the input would suggest. Consider this comparison. A 25-year-old who invests $100 a month for 30 years contributes $36,000 and ends up with approximately $122,000. A 35-year-old who invests $300 a month for 20 years contributes $72,000, twice as much money out of pocket, and ends up with approximately $156,000. The second person contributed double the money and only ended up with 28% more. The decade of extra time was worth more than doubling the contribution. Read that again. Someone who put in half the money but started 10 years earlier ended up in nearly the same position. The 35-year-old did not do anything wrong. They invested consistently, they contributed a meaningful amount, and they have a solid balance to show for it. But they cannot buy back the decade they missed. And the gap between what they have and what they could have had if they started at 25 is the cost of waiting, measured in dollars that will never exist. That is the math. But the math is not even the most important part of this story. What actually changes when you invest $100 a month is not the balance. The balance changes, obviously. But what changes first, what changes in month 1 before the balance means anything, is the relationship with money itself. Rich Richard started asking about expense ratios because he had an account with expense ratios. He started understanding compound interest because he had an account that demonstrated it in real time. He started noticing credit card interest differently because he could calculate what that interest was costing him relative to what his investment was producing. The $100 was a financial education that paid him to attend it. Every month the account existed, he learned something about how money actually works that no amount of YouTube videos, articles, or podcasts could replicate as reliably as having real money in a real account doing real things. Poor Peter watches personal finance content regularly. He knows the vocabulary. He can explain compound interest at a dinner party. But he does not feel it, because feeling it requires owning it, and owning it requires starting. The other thing that changes is harder to name. It is the late night phone check, not immediately. The early years do not provide enough of a balance to quiet the low-grade financial anxiety that nearly everyone carries. But somewhere around year 5, the check shifts in character. It is no longer driven by worry. It becomes curiosity. The same hand reaching for the phone, the same screen glowing in the dark, but this time checking something that is growing instead of confirming something that is standing still or shrinking. That shift from checking out of fear to checking out of interest is what $100 a month actually buys. Not in month 1, in year 5. And it costs exactly $100 a month to get there.